welcome to another Drive-In Double Feature. I'm Ryan,
I'm Nathan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into anything at all, we have a Patreon over at patreon.com/slash Drive-In Double Feature podcast. You know, Nathan, I was at my local doctor's office the other day, and
Oh, what what
I
uh what was their practice?
oh, it was general practice. I was just there
Oh,
for a checkup,
okay, cool.
and I was having a bit of a cough. I just wanted to get checked out, and I was just there. Everyone was complaining about the insurance costs there, and then one person spoke to, it was like a group session, like everyone in the waiting room was just talking, like a round table discussion, and
I hate when that happens.
and somebody brought up, like, oh, what's a really good deal is the podcast Driving Double Feature podcast Patreon. For only $5 a month, you get some fun conversations, some games, and just some great topics over there that Nathan and Ryan cover. It's really worth the price. And they said, best thing of all, it doesn't affect any regular content. And then somebody else at the table was like, I really wish Nathan and Ryan knew how much we really appreciate them. And I just spoke up and I said, I think they know.
And then they
Yeah.
go, "Oh, thanks, Ryan." They
No,
don't
I didn't
even
say
they
what my
didn't.
name was.
Well,
They didn't even
they
know who they're
knew,
talking to. They didn't
but
even know who I was talking to.
they didn't make the connection.
No.
No.
But anyway, like I said, only $5 a month, so go check that out. Today, though, we are talking about 1988's Dead Ringers, which is directed by David Cronenberg. Uh, this one is a this one is more like a psychological movie compared to the movie we talked about on
Mhm.
Tuesday, where it's about two twins, both played by Jeremy Irons, one named Beverly and one named Elliot, and they are very gifted doctors they're very well accomplished, have lots of different accolades. And it does show them, like, as kids, that they were not the most well brought up, or they didn't have like a lot of social norms that they understood, because they just went up to like a little girl and they're just like, oh, do you want to go have sex with us, like, upstairs? And it's just like,
And she's like,
uh
you freaks! What
yeah,
the hell?"
yeah. And they're just like, they don't understand, do they? And basically, they have both very different personalities. Beverly is more of a very awkward and very by the book,
Mhm.
and Elliot is more of the suave, very sexual one of the twin, where he's always taking a different woman to bed. And one of the things that they do together, I guess, which is kind of messed up, is that Elliot would go have sex with a woman, and then he will just tell his brother, it's like, oh, you should go have sex with her too, and basically just like pretend you're me or whatever, and just
Yep. And that's their
and
dynamic.
yeah, and that's what they do. Like, that's like a whole like thing that they do, which is really messed up.
Oh,
And
horrible. Yeah.
yeah,
And they are identical twins. They're both played by Jeremy Irons. You can tell when they're different, especially by personality and how he plays them. But I think it's Bev kind of walks with a little bit of a hunch, right? It's less noticeable later in the movie, I'll say that. But in the beginning, I think Jeremy Irons does a good job of making sure you can tell both of them apart.
yeah, that's the one thing about this movie that I do want to take, that I would do want people to know. It's like Jeremy Irons is really great in this movie.
It takes it's hard work pulling off something like this. So he does it well.
Like, when I saw that, I was just like, man, that's like, it's really a shame that the Academy does not recognize horror movies, because he
Mhm.
100% should have been nominated for this movie.
Yeah, I
But
think I think he even said he should have won this over Reversal of Fortune.
I said that, yeah, I my letterbox review.
Yeah, I think this movie's aged better than Reversal of Fortune as far as like remaining interesting, and
Well,
not
I mean,
having Alan Dershowitz.
what? Well, I mean, like, I remember watching Reversal of Fortune. I mean, he's good in that one, but I wouldn't
Yeah.
say he's like exceptional. But in this one, I would.
Yeah, because it's just a very unique performance. You wouldn't see this anywhere else. And I mean that's help from Cronenberg, because Cronenberg in this time, especially in the 80s, nothing could beat his like sense of weirdness and like breaking taboos.
Absolutely. He's very bizarre. There's a lot of weird themes in this one too.
Yeah.
Um, how it begins though is that they're both gynecologists, and Elliot has been treating Claire, who is a movie star,
Hmm.
and she basically wants to find out if she's able to have children or not.
Hmm.
And Elliot was basically just like sleeping around with her and basically told Beverly like you should hook up with her too. Like, it'll
Um,
be good for you.
and you can tell that Beverly is not into this as much as his brother. He's like, why would I even do this? I don't feel comfortable with it. And he gets pressured into it.
Yeah, Elliot is very much pressuring him into that. But
Yeah, and and I mean it's even brought up later. It feels like Elliot is into that. Like he gets his kicks from his brother also sleeping with her.
right, and because they even point that out, like she even says that later in the movie. But this time, like Beverly does go over there, and he does end up kind of getting some feelings for this woman because
Hmm.
she is very nice and she really wants to have a baby. And he was kind of just like, no, I don't think you're going to be able to have a baby. And they end up sleeping together. And the messed up part about this whole dynamic is that Elliot, knowing that Beverly is started a relationship with this woman, Claire,
Hmm.
he like goes in, pretends to be Beverly, and he starts doing like some really like hardcore, like kinky stuff with her.
Hmm.
And basically, and Beverly's like none the wiser, like during this whole time too. And so is Claire because she thinks she's just with Beverly.
Exactly. Yeah, no. Everybody's I mean, I guess Elliot feels like the true villain of this movie. Like he's the one who ruins the lives of others. And also he uses Beverly in in the medical world because it seems like he's the charisma, he's the one that talks to everybody, where Beverly seems to be the one who actually works on the patients. And it seems like their big claim to fame is like weird, like this instrument to use for gynecology that changed the game. It was just like incredible. But they both get credit, but it seems Elliot seems to be the one who actually talks like at the dinner party and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's kind of the mouthpiece, and Beverly is more of like the hands for the operation. But
Yeah.
going into it, Claire does eventually find out that
Yes.
she's been sleeping with a pair of twins, and she's not happy at first, and she's pretty much just like, I'm done with you two. I don't want anything to do with
At the
you.
dinner scene, that scene is crazy where they're both just sitting across from each other. And I think it's
Yeah.
Beverly's the one who gets the most damage dealt to him in that scene.
Yeah. Well, because she's just basically just like, that's incredibly messed up. Like you knew
Hmm.
this whole time. And
Hmm.
um, it's a very good scene, I thought. And
I agree.
at the end, she kind of storms out. But eventually she comes back around because she does still have feelings for Beverly.
Yeah, specifically him. Like
Yeah.
yeah. She
They
liked his I don't know, his demeanor, his personality.
right, because that was like the whole thing is that she said, one day I'll be with you and you're super sweet and kind and,
Mm-mm.
so loving. And then the next day you're very arrogant, annoyed, and then you're like, you have like this really weird dark side to yourself, which
Hmm.
is Elliot. And but then again, she sees past like everything that they did to her, and she's like, oh yeah, like, we'll just be in a relationship now. And
Hmm.
Beverly's just like, okay, great, type of thing. And you could tell that really bothers Elliot. And he's just,
Yeah, because
he's,
it breaks his dynamic, right? That what it gets him off of like feeding girls to his brother because his brother is going to be a little more confident now.
yeah.
Maybe a little bit better ability to stick up for himself.
So the one big theme of this movie, which they don't say explicitly, but it's very heavily hinted about what's going on is that while they're not conjoined, is that they're still technically Siamese twins. It's like they're
Mhm.
basically whatever happens to one of them, the other one has to happens too, and they have to keep this equilibrium about them too.
Yeah, and it really gets into that more and more we get into the movie. I actually had no idea. I thought this would be a Cronenberg movie that really didn't focus on like body horror as much, but it's there. Like there's like the nightmare where he sees himself connected to his brother, and he in the dream that the actress bites it off of him. So there
Oh, his
is
nipple.
still,
He
yeah,
like pulls
yeah.
his nipple out of his chest.
It's so weird. Like it gets brutal there. One of my favorite storylines in this that I guess her deal is that she has what are they called? She just has three of not remembering what they call it. But anyway, he calls it a mutant uterus. He's like, oh, she's a mutant woman. So he gets obsessed with this idea of making surgical tools for mutant women to work on mutant women, and that becomes like a whole obsession. It looks like a tentacle for one of them. So odd.
One looks like a scorpion tail, and
Yeah, it's crazy. And you can't even use them properly because he tries to use them at one point, and it just makes this woman bleed. It's bizarre, but I actually wish they did more of this because I thought that was really interesting.
yeah, that part was like messed up.
Yeah, because
And
I'll be honest, I laughed every time he was like, "I want to work on mutant women." Like he kept calling
yes,
them mutant women.
because what happens is he becomes really attached to Claire,
Yes.
and she says, "Okay, I have to go off and film a movie for a while."
Hmm.
And at first, he calls her up one day, and another man picks up, which happens to be like her assistant,
Hmm.
and he immediately just goes and like, she just cheated on me. Like I am
Yeah.
so pissed. And like when you said like the mutant women bit is like he like it's like, how do you feel that every night you're sleeping with a mutant? And and it just really weird stuff like that. But it sends him into this really big spiral where he starts like drinking and he starts
Hmm.
getting addicted to pills. And like you said, he's finds these instruments that are out of the ordinary instruments, and he ends up, like you said, stabbing a woman essentially, and she just starts bleeding profusely. And because of that, he gets suspended as being a doctor, and so does Elliot too.
Yeah, because they work together. It goes into that equilibrium thing, right? And one of them ends up being a drug addict. And as we learn later in the movie, when he takes drugs, the other one feels it. It's like this whole combo. And I think it's late in the movie for me where I started to become more and more confused on which was which. And I think the movie wants you to do that. At least
Yeah.
that's how I felt like it would be like, oh, I'm watching this character, and then he would say something like, oh, how's Elliot doing? And I'd be like, what? That wasn't Elliot this whole time, and it really starts to mess around with both of these twins.
Yeah. Like you said, I believe that's intentional, where they
Yes,
want
yeah.
you to be perpetually confused about which one is which.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, Beverly is the one that kind of starts out as like this drug addict
Yeah.
and everything. And then eventually Elliot starts feeling the same effects, and then he starts feeling the same way because it's very much like we said, it's like one thing happens to one, the same thing happens to the other one, and
Hmm.
they both just kind of like fall into like this really big spiral out there. And we do eventually uh Claire finally does come back or calls him on the phone. She's like, "Oh, I haven't heard from you in a long time. Like, what's going on?" And he's like, "You cheated. I heard another man on the phone." And she's like, "No, that was my assistant. He's gay." And
Oh,
so
well, I just went on a bender.
yeah, it's like, oh, that's awkward.
Yeah.
And
Uh, go ahead.
well, and at that point, like I said, like all the negative effects that Beverly was feeling start going into Elliot, and they kind of just in a really drug induced type of episode or whatever.
Hmm.
Elliot's pretty much just like kill me type of thing because
Hmm.
you, I am affecting your life so much, and we basically want to separate from each other permanently.
Hmm. Yeah, and what a great like finale to this movie. It's so bizarre when compared to the rest of the movie, but there's something I loved about it, about them sad, high, sitting together, and they're both obviously high because there's just like trash everywhere. And I love when Jeremy Irons like, "Ah, I could go for a piece of cake and an orange pop," and he gets him that like there's like a cake and he grabs it by his hand, pours him a glass of orange pop, and they just like hang out together. And like you said, they
Hmm.
plan, he's just pretty much just like kill me and like get rid of me. And so it ends like, kind of like with this surgical scene where he kills his brother.
Yeah, and I mean, it was basically like if they were conjoined, he basically did like the same thing to him, where he just like slices him and just
Hmm.
blood and stuff like all pours out of him.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so at that point, Beverly is really despondent because his brother is dead,
Hmm.
and he tries to go call Claire to say what this whole thing is, and she just goes like, "Who's this?" And I was trying to figure out exactly what that meant.
Oh yeah, I don't know either. And I don't know. I guess that's definitely up for interpretation because it gives this vibe of like, did any of this actually happen? But like, it had to have in some way, or maybe everything after the after she
Or
left them, like she didn't actually go back to them. And I don't know. I don't know. What were you
I
thinking?
don't I don't know, like, because I was thinking maybe like since one of the twins was dead, like their self, like their identity was dead, maybe.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Right. Or like you said, it's just like that none of that stuff ever happened and they were just like crazy the whole time.
Yeah, but that I don't know. I don't like that explanation
Yeah.
because that would make it a movie where nothing happened, and I don't. I never I never
I
liked
don't like
that.
that. No, I agree. I don't think it was that, but I know there's
It,
some deeper level that I have not.
it's a metaphor for something, I'm sure. Like you said, a cutoff of identity, just like complete deconstruction of yourself, something like that. Something where John Carpenter would be like, David Cronenberg sucks now. He takes his work too seriously, as he said.
He's not weird enough. He needs to be
Yeah.
weirder. Needs more alien instruments.
Yeah, he needs to give up and just play video games. Yeah, the dream.
David Cronenberg as a Let's Player.
I'd watch it. Yeah, he just plays like the weirdest games he can find.
Yeah,
I'd play a David Cronenberg game. I wish.
it'd be really cool.
Dead Ringers the
But
game, a
uh,
co-op
oh, well, you
experience.
do co-op. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
was gonna say. Um,
yeah.
but at the very end of the movie, he goes back to the apartment and he sees Elliot there, and he then Beverly pretty much just like goes and lays on top of him and
Hmm.
just dies there too, because since his brother's dead, he's dead now.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of how the movie ends. What a crazy movie,
But
honestly, and just
bizarre movie. And it's crazy because it's not the most like disgusting Cronenberg movie or anything, but it still manages to be his one of his most bizarre, his most weird creations.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely very low on the gore factor from a lot of other movies that he's done,
Yes, yeah.
but in this one, it's very stylized. Like there's a lot of like grays and a lot of
Hmm.
um it's not a very colorful movie, but the scene that does stand out is the scene where I keep thinking about it a lot is this the surgery scene where when he stabs the woman
Yeah, and he
and
like
all the
jumps on her.
well that and like just how all the doctors and nurses are all wearing red scrubs like they're
Yeah,
wearing like
they look like they're at
eh,
like a cult or in a cult.
yeah, it just I'm like I don't think I've ever seen I mean I've seen red scrubs before but never like that where it's just like it covers their whole bodies.
Yeah, it's full of like That's probably the most striking image of the movie because the rest of it kind of just looks like wait, yuppie 80s culture kind of in a way because they're in an upscale apartment like you said is gray, but then that'll happen and then like and then like it's a very just odd odd mix of things. No one I mean this movie made $14 million. Can you believe that?
That's so weird because like that's a lot for back then, even.
Yeah, that's good for a movie like this. I mean, it cost 13 million, so it was a that wasn't a good return.
But it's just funny because you figure, like I don't think if you released a movie like that today, like I don't think that many people would go see it, or it'd be like it'd probably get like 5 million or 4 million or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Unless A24 did it, and then it's a winner. They always make winners, people.
Mm. Yeah, all the time.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Uh, Now this movie did have a remake of some sort. There was a television adaptation of it,
Hmm.
um, from back in 2023 last year. But it was two twin girls with Rachel Weisz.
Yes, yeah, I remember hearing about that. Never watched it. I mean, if there's an actress to contend with Jeremy Irons, she's a really good pick. I'm sure she does a great job.
Yeah, I didn't see it personally, but I remember it getting pretty decent reviews from what I remember. But
Yeah.
anyway, I think that'll do it for this one. So, Nathan, what are we talking about next time?
All right. Well, we are going to be talking about a Stephen King movie, 2016's
Oh, Shining.
Cell.
I love The Shining.
No, Cell. Cell, the other favorite of King's
Oh,
movies.
I
Woo!
love that book, this Cell.
The Killer Cell Phone book. Come on now.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
of course.
But Ryan, what are we covering on Thursday?
Well, Nathan, you know, these cold months, I need to start warming up a little bit. I need some, you know what I love? Going to the beach, Nathan.
Mhm.
So, Nathan, we're going to be talking about 1979's Malibu High.
Malibu High.
Yes, which is free on Tubi right now. I know
Oh,
you're excited to watch that.
oh Lord, I'm looking at this poster. Good God, what do you have me watching?
You'll love it, I promise.
Okay,
And
I'll try.
anyway, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We really hope you enjoyed it. If you have any thoughts and opinions, please email us over at drive-in-double-feature-podcast@gmail.com. Once again, don't forget to check out the Patreon at patreon.com/drive-in-double-feature-podcast. But until next time.
Until next time.